Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the AsInt show. So, today on our panel, we have the man behind the softwares of AsInt, our CTO, Master Jarret Reeves. So, Jarret, how have you been?
I'm good, thank you. We're exciting times at AsInt. We're growing, lots of opportunities, and nothing is going to stop our excitement of what's coming in the future. So all good stuff.
Thanks, Jarret. So, before we deep dive into the question is, Jarret, I would love, or moreover, our viewers would love to know a little bit about you, your journey to ASINT, and from our sources, we have found out that you somewhere are related to US military as well. So, over to you, Jarret.
Yeah, a lot of people in life just kind of fall into their profession, and that really was very similar for me. Where when I was getting out of high school and going to college, the computer revolution was taking place. And I went into the U.S. military and happened to pick an occupational skill that I got to write software in the U.S. Army. Now, I wasn't that sophisticated. It was writing software around personnel management, but that really got my creative brain thinking, and I really enjoyed writing software. So soon thereafter, in 1997, I believe it was, when I exited the U.S. Army, the dot-com revolution was kicking off. And one of the wonderful opportunities I had was working for a company called Capstone, where we developed some software in the mechanical integrity space. And that led to my starting the career within the process industry, within the reliability space, within the mechanical integrity space for almost 30 years now.
That's so great, Jarret. So, Jarret, now you are basically into the technology domain, right? So, would love to know your views on how is ASINT. Uh, of course, we all know that ASINT is known for the seamless integration with the existing platforms, right? So, how does your software stand out from the others in the crowd, right?
Well, anytime you start a technology company, the key is you have to differentiate yourself. And in the Silicon Valley terms, it is you have to disrupt. Specifically, if it's already a market where there's a fairly good size competitive footprint. In our case, even the founders, we had built software, and they're actually still in the ecosystem, and customers are using those. So we understood the need. We understood our competitive situation, but our disruptive approach was learning from a enterprise IT perspective how and why customers invest so much money in their EAM, their enterprise asset management, and their ERP, their enterprise resource planning utilities. And so our ultimate unique idea was, how do we take all these mechanical integrity reliability functions and actually embed them in that corporate IT system, typically SAP, Maximo, Oracle. Those ultimately are the steward of all the recommendations, the analysis that we do within the APM, the asset performance management space. All those outputs, the recommendations, will actually go into the enterprise asset management resource planning utilities to be executed. And so it was a big wake-up call for us as the founders who have been building software outside of these ecosystems, and then figuring out a technical approach to deploy these within those systems. So that was our big competitive advantage 7 years ago. And thankfully, not a lot of our competition has followed us. But now it's time to take it to the next level and think about what kind of innovations we're going to be offering our customers in the next 5 years.
That's very great. So, what I could understand from your perspective that we are more into talking with the client and providing a customized or more flexible approach to them, right? So how does ASINT ensure all these things? And any recent breakthrough technology that ASINT has introduced?
Well, I think, not only are we what I call master data driven applications, but in the petrochem, oil and gas, semiconductor, anywhere you'll find what we call process industry, there are standards. And these standards are European legislations, for example, or in the US, we have the American Petroleum Institute, ASME standards. And though we have these standards, we also have to address customers' implementations of those standards. So, for example, API 510, API 570, those are inspection standards, versus API 581 third, those are risk-based, versus the European PED, the Pressure Equipment Directive. And those are a document that describes how customers need to implement these approaches to stay with the license to operate. Now, everybody changes those to meet their own internal processes. So, one of the other key technologies that we developed is a framework that not only allows us to embed these work processes within the enterprise asset management system, but also a framework that adapts to customer tweaks, if you will, to those specific methodologies. So, for example, if you're down in Brazil and you're running the NR13 model, the customers down there will take that, but then they'll change that model to meet their specific work process. Versus in Europe, we've got the EN 16991. Our framework allows us to treat that as content. So I'm running the same software, but I'm running a European model versus a Brazilian model versus a North America API standard model. And that is really kind of the business that we are providing. We're providing this content within our overall framework. So not only are we adapting the methodologies to meet our customer demands with this very sophisticated framework, we're also doing this within the enterprise asset management system. Now, the challenge is, and I've done this and I've failed in the past, the challenge is anytime you offer a high level configurability, you often lose usability. You lose usability. So we've been able to develop that framework in a very balanced manner that allows the end user to have a very rich experience, but also we can adapt to a fairly qualitative, but also a fairly quantitative methodology to implement these solutions.
That's great. That's great, Jared. This would have let our viewers know about more about the technology and innovations ASINT is providing. So, Jared, apart from these, so in the recent times, we have heard about AI capturing everything, right? People fear that AI will take the jobs and all these things, right? So we
Yeah.
want to know what do you see, or how do you feel about the AI transforming the asset integrity space, the risk management state, and how is ASINT stepping into it?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's not, in my career, we've dealt with big data, IoT. There's always kind of this buzzword, cloud development, mobility. These are kind of buzzwords or kind of trends in the industry that's happened. I don't feel like this is a trend or something that's going to go away. I think it's actually fairly transformative approach to developing and delivering software to our customers. Not only in how we develop software, as far as using AI to generate software, or maybe use AI to do QA/QC, but also potentially how do we bake in AI into our products that make it more valuable to our customers. And that's the hard part. And if you look at the AI that's been around for, let's say, 10 years, it's mainly been machine learning, some neural networks where you're essentially training and you get a mathematical probabilistic score that comes out of that. But now we've got generative AI, and the chat GPTs of the world have really changed the game And so what we're doing, what we see is it's fairly easy, I think, to just take a Chat GPT or Anthropic, all these other models that are out there, and embed it within our software to do things like recommendations. Give me interpret the standard or upload a PDF of the inspection report and auto find the findings off of that. That technology is already there. Our challenge is how do we make that very intimate to our customers? Most of our customers, and I'll talk about the tier ones, the global, international, integrated versus a fairly regional player. They are not going to want to see their data train these other models. And how dare you even go in to these corporate IT that have these standards and suggest to them that we are going to bring in these cloud-based models and give it data and then it potentially expose your proprietary information to it. So really our challenge, our product approach is we're going to be creating and delivering our own LLM models that can be either deployed within the firewall or externally outside of the firewall. So we see this as a potential new product line that augments our current applications. So if we're running a risk-based inspection, if we're doing a CML, if we're doing some kind of RCM, those applications are going to work how they've always been working. But now we're going to be feeding that information into a data set, a large language model that we are going to deploy within the customer's firewall so they can consume that information within our platforms. And that allows the end users to not only benefit from AI, specifically in the case of generative AI, but it also checks the box with our customers who are very, very concerned with their proprietary data. And you can imagine once we have that baked in and think about our applications, AI is going to wrap all of these applications. And so now think about kind of the next level of that. Well, I mean, analytics is a fairly easy thing to say, okay, show me everything within my fleet of everything that has a certain damage mechanism. That's a probabilistic output of the large language model. But there's even more interesting things that are associated with that. Automation, for example, AI automation, which is really what the people are spending money on right now as far as allocating budgets to change their organizations. They really want to get to a point where I can automate complete steps and what we call remove the human carbon factor out of the equation. Now, we're not going to get there, I don't think, in my lifetime, as far as completely removing the human from the equation, nor do we want this, specifically when we're dealing with heavy health, safety, environmental scenarios. But man, we sure can help automate large steps in that process to bring value to our customers.
So, just like AI, right? So, Jared, do you think what is the next 5 or 10 or 15 years goal of ASINT? Are we going to completely integrate AI and do stuffs or some other way around?
Well, we're currently right now in what we would call the APM space, the asset performance management space. And we're quite good at that, and we're known for that. And this is everything from safety to reliability to shutdown turnarounds to mechanical integrity to linear asset management. So there's a fairly large set of functions that we deliver in the APM space. There's another set more of in the investment side to help our customers. So if you look at the investment that customers make, I don't know if the public is aware of how much money it takes to run these asset intensive businesses. Not only the upfront cost, and I've seen facilities, just expansion of facilities that could be $40 billion. And that's just the investment before you actually put the asset in service and start getting the return of investment at that point. So even once you're in service, it's not uncommon to go into an outage and spend 20 or $30 million. And so people are currently, making those decisions in large part based off of consultants helping them figure that out. But we believe that that's a wonderful addition to the APM space to provide to our customers. That in conjunction with the AI, that's a fairly hefty product development and implementation process over the next 3 or 4 years. Specifically, I mean, if you think about the AI piece, that's going to be certain parts of the world are going to love it. Certain parts of the world are going to kind of be standoffish. So as you think about the technology adoption life cycle, I really think we're probably in the early adopter phase. So we're more than likely got a 5 or 10 year technology adoption cycle there that's going to keep us quite busy over the next 5 to 10 years.
That's great, Jared. So it has been like much of the insights we got to know about how AI is like driving or how AI is involved into this asset integrity and risk management space. So you have been building like softwares, or you have been involved in the tech industry for many years, right? Would love to know your views or what you gonna advise the young professionals coming out to how to build some innovative solutions, how to be into the tech domain. So what are your thoughts on, and what is your advice to the young, the Gen Z guys coming up?
Oh, that's a good one. And if you've worked with me a bit, you'll hear me say this with the team quite a bit. You're not an expert because you did it right the first time, right? You're an expert because you did it and you really screwed it up and you've learned from your mistakes. So I've been the person in the corner that was compiling the code and writing it and putting it out the door, and nobody ever using that software. And I'm like, well, why isn't anybody using my software? And I think the kind of the hard lesson to learn, and this is something that, especially coming out of Silicon Valley, in some respects out of Austin, some of the tech centers really understand quite well, is the concept of disruption. And so if you've got, even if you're creating a complete new vertical market, or you're going to an existing market, you've got to change the customer's mind on spending money with you versus spending somebody else. So you've got to do something different. And when you have that idea, you'll know it. In my lifetime, I've had maybe two, potentially three different disruptive ideas. So that's key, right? If you're not finding that disruptive idea, you're not going to be able to penetrate the market very well. The second piece to that, no matter if you're disruptive or not, you really have to understand the market that you're selling to. And you could kind of break this down into two markets. One is what we call the volume market, e.g. consumer based. Others what we call a value-based market. You take GE, who sells turbines, for example. They may sell one a year. Even if they're selling turbines anymore, I'm not sure. But that would be more of the value-driven market, right? They're not looking for a huge amount of customers. They're looking for maybe 100 customers, where the volume, you're looking for thousands, tens of thousands, or millions of customers. So think of Microsoft Office, that would be more of the volume based. And why is that important? Because from a sales, building, technology adoption life cycle, you are tactically going to take different steps depending on which bucket that falls in. So disruption, and make sure you understand, are you selling to a value or a volume market? And of course, don't be afraid to fail, right? You're going to have to want to hurry up and break stuff. And this is something that here in the States we do quite well, whereas we always feel like we can disrupt the market, and we always feel like we're missing out on something. And so you're willing to take those risks. You're willing to put yourself out there in the end and fail often and fail fast. And those take a lot of courage, right? And the older you get, I could tell you, it gets harder because you'll have a family. The younger you are, you more than likely don't have a family. You have less to lose. But disruptive, volume, value, and take those risks, right?
Yeah, so that's great. So taking risk at the younger age is quite much easier as compared to taking risk at as you grow more, right? So it is more like from your talks, I understood that it is more about execution rather than the fear of getting failed. So think of an idea, try to execute, and leave the fear of failure, right? Okay, so Jarrett,
Yeah.
of course, you like we in this chat we heard about $1 billion money involving in the asset integrity space, right? So hearing about this, many tech professionals would be thinking of entering this space or joining ASINT or any tech firms similar to it. So what is your advice to them? What do you think how they can build it such that they could start working with our firm? What do you look into a people before hiring them or before involving them or like they could work for our industry or ASINT specifically, right?
Well, we really are trying to create a culture of, hurry up, break something. No idea is a bad idea, and be, as long as you're respectful to, to your colleagues, then challenge everything. And essentially, if you, this is where, if you're young in your career, most of they say a lot of the great ideas come out when you're young, because you're not exposed to current thinking. And so in our business, we clearly had the legislative regulatory scenario where certain customers are in the asset intensive businesses. If they do something wrong, they could kill somebody. So they're extremely worried about that. At the same time, they're looking for new ideas. Just because we did something 10 years ago, and that's how, I was trained to do it. That's how my dad did it. That's how whomever did it. Doesn't mean we need to be doing it today. And so that out of the box thinking is very, very crucial. And this kind of is where we also separate ourselves from some of our competition, where our competition are really more professional services who are trying to sell kind of a man hour business, right? And so they're more worried about high utilization. We're trying to think outside the box and provide products that change that paradigm. And so challenge everything. Challenge in a respectful way. You could come to meetings and say, "Well, that's dumb. I would never do it like that." I'm not suggesting that that's the mechanism of challenging. You're saying, "Hey, I see it another way, and this is an idea that we can do it, and these are the risks we need to take." Ultimately, that's where that innovative thinking comes from. And so for us, we're really looking for team members that aren't being don't want to be told what to do on a day-to-day basis, but can come up with their own ideas and execute. We set, as the leaders, we set the objectives. I want to move into this space. We've got to do X, Y, and Z for this customer. When we set the guardrails, you need to be able to take it in that direction and deliver that at a high quality and understand where those guardrails are at. And that's not a common thing. And most people want to be kind of held along the way and to be reassured what they're doing is the right thing. And I'm not saying that we're not doing that, but we also need people that can really run with it. We ultimately want to hire smart people to tell us what to do. We don't want to hire smart people and tell them what to do. That's definitely the wrong paradigm, right?
That's great, Jared. So our viewers now know how to enter into ASINT. So in the recent times, we have seen that the technologies are changing rapidly, right? Previously, it was something else. Now AI is coming picture. Later on, blockchain has also come into picture, crypto and everything, right? So how do you advise or what are your suggestions to the industry leaders, how they can manage their teams and also make sure that the team stays ahead or stays up to date with the this changing industry, right? The change in the tech industry, software industry, or any industry, right?
Well, if you are in the tech industry, you are there because you love the chaotic problem solving aspect of it all. And if you are working on a specific product, and I've been a victim of this, I mean, I was literally the person compiling the code on a nightly basis for probably 7 to 8, 10 years, but we weren't really doing anything different, right? And your skills become somewhat stagnant on that. So I think in the tech business specifically, that may frighten a lot of people. So you're always going to be changing. And so the one thing is absolutely for sure is that technology is exponential. It changes all the time, and you have to be ready to adapt to that. Now, if you're, dare I say, a lawyer or maybe potentially somebody in the medical services area, that's probably kind of scary to them. So first of all, you have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to adapt. You have to be willing to be challenged all the time. And for me, as I get older, that becomes very tiring, to be honest with you. So you have to have that mentality. Now, with that being said, the exponential nature of technology, and there's huge amounts of writing on this, which basically says that the more that we create, the more we automate, the higher that curve of change is going to occur. Now, you could be a skeptic and you could say, well, I'm not going to be part of that, but I can tell you that the train's coming and you need to jump on board with it. And in technology, you have to think of it like, and Steve Jobs said it the best. I love how he would quote, if you study how technology impacts humans, the human with regards to locomotion isn't very effective. We walk, we run, potentially we swim. But as far as all the species that are on the planet, we're fairly slow, especially myself. But it turns out I think a condor, a bird, is the most effective use of energy of flying and moving from point A to point B. But if you give that Homo sapien, that human, some technology, give them a bicycle, give them a car, then their efficiency becomes much, much more greater than the condor. So technology is an enabler. Don't look at it as something that's going to take my job, something that, I'm getting too old to understand, or maybe I'm too young and therefore I can't grasp the concepts. Don't be afraid of it in the end. Embrace it and run with it.
So change is the only constant, right?
Change is the
So
constant. Change is absolutely. And I mean, if you look at the world, I think there's a little over 8 billion people on the planet. It's going to get to 12 billion before you know it. And you have to really look at that. That's competition out there. And a large part of that, 8 billion people on the planet are afraid of change and they're afraid of technology. They're consumers of it, but they don't understand how to create it. And they definitely don't understand how to take technology and put it into a product and put it into the market, right? So there's a big opportunity there, I think, for people who are willing to take that risk and bring it to market.
thank you so much, Jared. That was
Yeah.
amazing insights from you. Our
Yeah.
viewers would have got a lot of knowledge from these things. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much. It was great to have you out here. And to our viewers, this was like a great knowledge sharing platform. And that was Jared sharing all the insights of ASINT and how technology is rapidly changing, how it is innovating and helping everyone. It is not, we are not here to fear AI or something. It's only to help us in the long run. So that's it. Thank you so much, Jared, for joining us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to thank you, Anki. Wonderful questions, wonderful dialogue. We really love that you're on the AsInt team and stepping up. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Jared. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. So in the end, do like to our video, Comment down your favorite part, what you liked in the video most. Apart from this, stay tuned for more such episodes. Thank you so much.